I also have the World's Noisiest Keyboard. I keep getting tagged in that thing. I don't know if you've seen it, where somebody has a keyboard and it's entirely made of ducks.
I have, yeah. I saw that yesterday, yeah.
People in the office have suggested that's my next upgrade, because obviously I type fast and angry on a very sort of clicky keyboard.
Wow.
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel need for speed.
Roads? And we're going, we don't need roads. Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Batman. I am the Father.
So, Mary, in our time-honoured fashion of providing additional content that nobody actually wants or needs, what content have you been consuming over the last wee while since we talked?
What a horrible question. Inspired by some Oscar buzz around Killers of the Flower Moon, I sought out another David Gran book, which was called The Wager, about a ship in the 1700s called The Wager that had a sort of mutiny and was shipwrecked off the coast of South America, and it was fabulous. And I picked it up on a whim because I thought I really enjoy Killers of the Flower Moon, and then I was like, oh god, am I going to like this? Because I don't know anything about boats or anything like that. But it was so well written and so engaging that I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I might go and look at more of his work as well. In terms of what I've watched, I watched a new Sophie Grabble series that was on BBC iPlayer called Prisoner. Obviously set in a Danish prison, and she was one of the guards. It was only 6 episodes, quite a few familiar sort of Danish TV faces in it, as there tends to be in these things. But I quite enjoyed it. It sort of reminded me of The King, which was the Italian prison TV series that was on Sky Atlantic a while ago. It was that kind of, boundaries are blurred, it's all very violent, that sort of thing. So I quite like that as well. For Vampire Videos podcast, I watched The Reflecting Skin, also a Viggo Mortensen film, but absolutely fucking honking on a scale that I cannot even explain. It was one of those ones where I watched it and I went, oh God, I think I'm too thick to have understood this. That was clearly, I hated that. So that was clearly, it was obviously a lot more highbrow. Went on their pod, and thankfully you said, no, it was the biggest pile of shit he'd ever seen. So I felt quite confident that my intelligence levels hadn't suffered as a result of watching that. And also yesterday I watched 20 Days in Mariupol, which is the Oscar-winning documentary feature for this year. Extremely hard going. I was very, very emotional watching it, but there's a line in the sort of voiceover where he says, these images do need to be seen, and I couldn't disagree with that. So it was definitely worth a watch.
Nice, excellent stuff. For myself, it's been a bit of a mix between sort of newer stuff and older stuff. Reading wise, I haven't really been delving into any sort of novels, anything that I haven't previously mentioned, or stuff that I've had on the go. I tend to have maybe about 3 or 4 things on the go at the one time, so I
wish I could do that. I just don't have the brain capacity.
No, I like sort of jumping in between things, because then it kind of keeps it fresh, and it also sort of tests my memory as well. And like, what was that about, that previous page? So yeah, you do tend to sort of jump in as well. But I have been getting more back into comics as well, which nice. I have been sorely missing for quite a while. There is a whole collection of 2000 AD comics that I have read previously, but I now have them all digitally as well. So I'm working my way through those, and I'm currently around about 1978, which is there's quite a few. I mean, there's several thousand episodes of these comics to go, so it's cracking. I just love reading these sort of things. There's
Can I ask a silly question? How do you find reading them digitally?
It works very well. I use an iPad to read them, and I've got an app, and you buy the comics, then you load them up onto the app, and the size of the screen is roughly the same as the sort of standard DC and Marvel comics, so it's easy enough. The only time that there are any sort of problems is if you've got like a double page spread, and it goes over 2 pages, then you need to just flip it on the side and it gets the whole thing. But it fits really nicely into the size of the page, and it's obviously just moving out your finger, just going from one to the other. It works really well. So, and it's dead easy, and you can have hundreds of these
Yeah.
comics actually sitting on your device, because they're only usually less than a couple of meg each on them. So I've been working my way through old 2000 AD ones. I've been reading a bit of Animal Man, which is one that I kind of wonder why it's never actually been made into like a TV show or a.
Right. Okay.
It's kind of is almost built for TV or film. It's about a guy who can temporarily absorb powers from any animal that he touches or is in the vicinity of. So he can take things like elephants and all that, but he can take ones that have got regenerative powers and things like that as well, like worms, for instance. So he can take
That
that.
sounds really cool.
So it's actually pretty good. It's from I think it's the late 90s, I think it was. I think it'd been about for ages before. It was kind of relaunched, and it was one of these sort of premier sort of DC titles, and it's pretty decent as well. And there was a series of Dune comics as well.
Nice.
There's a sort of set of about 10 of those, which I've been reading as well, and they're cracking it. So, I mean, obviously the graphics and everything are lovely in all these films, but it's all about the story. It all comes down to that.
Yeah.
So and they're dead easy to read. You can work your way through a 30-page comic in basically no time at all if you want to, or you take your time and you just kind of absorb it all in and all that. So that's pretty good. TV-wise, I've finished the last season of Foundation, based on the Isaac Asimov books. It's on Apple TV Plus, which I believe you're going to be switching over to at some point.
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah. So, yeah, I've watched that. And I've also just finished Masters of the Air on Apple TV Plus.
Oh,
which is,
I really want to see that.
The Airman drama. That just had its last episode dropped last week. And that's cracking. That was a really, really good drama. You can tell all the money is on the screen on that one. And there's a couple of behind the scenes sort of wee vignettes as well, which kind of show you how they actually did some of it, because they're talking like a fleet of bombers, these B-29 bombers, but obviously I think there's only maybe a handful of them still in existence, so they had to actually work out ways in order to do it, like with sort of in plane shots and like in the sky shots and all this, and there's a lot of CG obviously, but it's really, really nicely done. I've rewatched actually My Brilliant Friend, the Elena Ferrante series, which is on Sky Atlantic, basically because I'm going to Naples in a couple of weeks, and I was told that we should watch this. And I started watching it before, and for whatever reason, I really can't think, I get pulled off and onto something else. But it's pretty good actually. I'm enjoying it so far, and I've never read the books, so I've got no preconceptions about the characters of what the story should be like, or what they've missed, or what they've added to it. So I've got no inkling. I've not even tried to find out. I'll try and find out after the series and see what the sort of the good points and the bad points are. But yeah, it's again high quality Italian drama. Can't beat that.
Is there not a theory about, or am I getting them mixed up with another author? Is there not a theory that Elena Ferrante is actually two men?
Yes, that was within that TV program that I told you about, the Richard E. Grant one. He spoke to somebody who was well, I wouldn't say expert, but they were very well renowned about, and they knew a lot about the Ferrante novels, and they figured out sort of the real life areas that were mentioned in the books, based on the sort of the geography of it and everything. And there are so many theories about who Elena Ferrante is, because the real life person or persons has been a closely guarded secret since the books came out. Now,
that's so bizarre.
And when he was speaking to this woman about, what do you think? And, there's been a lot of speculation as to it's a man. And she was saying, well, if it is a man, he can tell a woman's story very, very well. And he writes female characters in a way that most men cannot write. We don't get certain elements of it, which I totally understand, So she says, I kind of think it is a woman, but I have no basis for that answer. I don't know if it is or it isn't, because it could be one woman.
Maybe it was that woman.
Exactly, yeah. But that was one of the theories, that it's two men that have written the books. But yes, it's very closely guarded secret indeed.
That is so bizarre because authors now I feel like have to go on like mega tours to promote their books, and so the fact that it's shrouded, I mean, obviously it does no harm in terms of book sales and stuff like that, but yeah, I sometimes think I get what you're saying. I think it's right that you've gone in with like no preconceptions, because I am the worst bastard in the world for going, well, it wasn't like that in the book. So you're probably just nice to enjoy it and actually soak it all up, as opposed to going, she should have a pleat in and she should have this colour of hair and all this sort of thing. So.
Yeah, there is all that, obviously, and there's a lot of people who pick up on these things. It was obviously the Jack Reacher one where, you know, he's this giant man.
He should not be, he should not be 5 foot tall. That's fair.
Yeah, it can get a bit toxic, and like you say, it is very difficult to keep something secret now. Now, if you think about the likes of Stephen King rating as Richard Bachman, it was just a mistake in a contract or something that actually listed him as being involved, and somebody really had to dig into this in order to find out and actually say, oh, it's Stephen King, and they kind of expose him. But there's another film out just now which I haven't seen. It's called American Fiction. It's about an author who editor is trying to get him to write a book with a black voice, and he says, but I have a black voice, I'm a black man. But it's not that type of novel. It's more sort of ghetto and everything, and more sort of street. So he makes up this author, and he writes this book as a joke, and of course it takes off, and he has to then pretend to be this guy and pretend that he's been to prison. Like, he's interviewed by a guy, and the guy says, you know, so you've been to prison, haven't you? And he says, well, you said it, not me, you know, and he makes all kind of mysterious. And it's all about how he's totally exasperated because the only way he's becoming, he is actually getting any level of fame is because he's pretended to be somebody else. It's not his voice, it's a voice that people think should come from a black person, and it looks really good. I haven't seen it either, but
brilliant.
It's on Prime now. It was out the cinema, and it was I think it won an Oscar for original screenplay.
I think it did, because obviously that was our holdovers scandal before all that happened. So yeah.
So I'm going to watch that one as well. So that may be a good one for us to take a look at some point. Yeah. Movie wise, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. I rewatched The Spy Who Loved Me again because I was sitting in a hotel room on Wednesday night and I couldn't be bothered going out anywhere, and ITV4 are showing all these films basically in a pretty much constant loop. So I watched that one.
What do you think of our wedding?
Just a wee bit, yeah. Not our wedding. We're not married.
Oh yeah, sorry. John and I aren't married. But the theme tune to The Spy Who Loved Me was obviously our first dance at our wedding as well, which I thought was a belter.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, in terms of like yours, mine, and Simmy's relationship, it's sort of a pod threesome, isn't it? More than anything else. Yeah. So and let's not delve into that.
Nah. That'll be on behind the paywall, that content.
Let's just say Simmy's the meat and the sandwich.
Oh, he's gonna love this.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, back to what I was watching.
Yes,
I watched a film called Lift, which is on Netflix. It's Kevin Hart as an action hero on this, where he's a thief, and he steals high-end art, and it's one of these ensemble pictures, and basically he's sort of brought in to do a job for, I think it's Interpol, to steal all this gold off of a plane. So it's like an impossible sort of heist, and that was actually pretty decent. It rolls along quite nicely, and there's a lot of well-known people. Billy Magnuson's in it.
Is he?
And the role, yes, he plays a bit of a doofus character in it, who's this safe cracking expert as well. But yeah, it's a pretty decent film. It passed the time quite nicely. I was quite happy to watch that. I also watched Damsel, which is Millie Bobby Brown.
I couldn't bring myself to, because I didn't like Enola Holmes.
It's a completely different type of role. She's not really a bit of a princess, and she's getting married off to this prince, but there's a whole thing about a dragon and everything as well, and she's not actually there to become queen of this land. She's actually there to become a sacrifice. This is all shown in the trailers. There's nothing, it's not like a great secret or anything. But again, decent film. Ray Winston's her dad in it, and he does his Ray Winston voice. So it's fairly decent. It was, again, past the time. I couldn't complain. She's obviously very good in it. She's leading the film. It's very CGI heavy, obviously, if you've got dragons, because they don't exist, people. They don't exist. And I saw another one called, I think this one was an Amazon. Yeah, it was an Amazon, this one. It's called Role Play. Don't know if you've managed to see that at all, which is another... Yeah, it's Kaylee Cacao. She's from The Big Bang.
Oh,
Big
yeah.
Yeah. So it's her and David Oyelowo, and she is an assassin who has this family life, and she's got kids and a husband, and they don't know anything about it. They think she's selling stuff, and they've been married for like 6-7 years, and he wants to kind of, reinvigorate their sex life. So they go to a hotel in the city and they pretend to be different people they're meeting for the first time, but at the same time there's a sort of kill notice out on her, and these other assassins are trying to kill her. And the first one that turns up is Bill Nye, and he's really good. It's this older British assassin, very suave, but when he laughs, he snorts every time he laughs. He goes, which is, it happens every time. So it's actually a pretty decent film as well. It won't tax any award juries or anything like that, but it was pretty fun, and you kind of know what's going to happen in it and everything. But again, some decent action in it as well, and some pretty funny performances, because there's that mix of action and comedy and all that as well. So yeah, worked very well. So it's kind of what I've been watching. So fairly mixed, but nothing too heavy. I shall get back into the heavier stuff, I suppose.
See, I feel like I need to do the lighter stuff, because I feel like I've properly dragged myself through the ringer. But no, I'll definitely check out that American Fiction, because if it's on Prime, it's Coleman Domingo that's in that, isn't he's in that one?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
and
he has been looking flawless on every red carpet this award season, so that alone makes me want to go and watch it.
I think it's Jeffrey Wright is the main. He's the author.
Oh, right, okay.
So, yeah, and he's great in everything. I definitely think I've seen him in anything bad. One that you should. I don't know if you can still see it now though. Westworld. I think it might have actually been dropped from Sky Atlantic, and he's in that as well. He was one of the main characters in that. I think that's one of the TV shows that HBO have pulled in its entirety, so you can't see it anymore.
I did read that, because who's in it that I thought Gustav Skarsgård, he's in it, I think. And I thought, I'll put that on the watch list, because it's one of these things where we finished The Last Kingdom just before I went festival crazy, and then I'm like, okay, we should probably get another series to watch together. And Westworld was top of my list, and it's disappeared. It's so frustrating. Yeah,
I think it's reasonably recently as well. I think they just put a sort of time limit on it and says, after that, it just doesn't exist anymore. And I don't think the last season of it is even on DVD or Blu-ray. I think the first 3 are, but I don't think the last one is. So the only way to get it is illegally, which is just ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. Surely the whole point is, like, even if you are pulling it, you surely want people to still pay to watch the stuff that you've created. And to be honest with you, I'm too thick to operate any sort of torrenting sites to know how that actually works. So that's so frustrating, because that was on my list to watch. I can't, it's gone from everywhere. I kind of hope they might do a sort of like a Blu-ray like package release or whatever, just to say this is what we've done. Obviously there's going to be no more, but it doesn't sound like there's going to be that either. Damn.
I don't think so. I think they work out if they'll actually make any money from it, and a lot of the time they won't. For something like for a fourth season of something, the returns on it are just not great. So it's not worth their while. They just pretend it doesn't exist anymore, which is shite, let's face it. But
that is the big argument for physical media, the way, because if you are invested in something and you're watching it on Amazon or Netflix or even just like on like Sky or whatever, and it just disappears, or certain episodes or certain seasons disappear, how else do you go back and rewatch a favourite if you don't have a physical copy?
Yep, I know, that's ridiculous, it really is, but we're at their mercy, unfortunately, with the way these
That's
things.
true.
So, aye, yeah. With
Yeah.
rainbows behind them or
Yeah,
something, you know?
yeah.
And the unicorn has to be crying, and then like in 30 seconds, this picture comes back. So that's like it's how they introduce that into
Yeah.
like the working practices. How do they use automation for certain things, all
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So yeah,
And doing it safely, I suppose, as well, because I guess the thing is that right now we don't know what we don't know in terms of like
yes,
data storage and safety and all that sort of thing. Like, I mean, I've been looking at it purely from a sort of automation perspective, and that what upsets me now is that everybody thinks they can write because they can throw something into an AI platform. But yeah, I guess the thing is, like, one of the guys in our work was showing us, basically it was like, so you were trying to like speak to a client, but they weren't like replying to your emails, and it's like, well, how can I speak to, you know, Bob Smith? And it's like, well, why don't you take him for like a steak dinner at the Corinthian? Because according to his LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram updates, he's been there 4 times in the past month. Like, so it's this data thing where it's like gathering information, and it's a bit scary. I mean, I think when you've got people like, they had that huge big AI conference they had in, was it London? And they were like, everyone should pause on this for 6 months because we're so far behind understanding where it is. That's what scares me.
Yeah, there's an awful lot, like I say, in terms of data governance and all this sort of stuff. It's like the information that you create, where does that go? Does it, like, for any government organisation, they've got it set up, so they're using the Microsoft version of the ChatGPT. It uses...
Is that?
It's called Microsoft Copilot. It's all linked into Bing and everything as well. Yeah. So, and it's pretty decent actually, because if you're using it in a work capacity, you can use public data sources and data spaces to actually gather information. But anything that you create from that stays within your own space. It doesn't. It can't get referenced by anybody else. So you're not allowing your own data to go out there and be used by anybody else, which is a really good thing. But I downloaded Copilot onto my phone, and I've been using it I used it just trying it out just to see what it would actually do. And I said, like, give me the outline of an article around the state of streaming services. And it gave me like the whole structure of an article. It didn't give me that. I could have said, write me an article about it, but I didn't want that. I just wanted to, and it gives you the outline, you know, introduction, and then it gives you like maybe a couple of wee bullet points of things maybe you should cover, and then it had like 4 or 5 different topics, and then it was like conclusion.
In a way, I've got no issue with that because it's just like a thinking prompt.
Yes.
It's not doing the work for you. I think where it's going to get tricky, I was speaking to my neighbour, and she was saying the big thing for them was going to be that because obviously AI written or generated essays can get through a plagiarism system without flagging anything up, like that's going to be a problem because that's not a thinking prompt. That's getting a robot to do your work.
Yeah, but then again, what you can do is you can put that essay into ChatGPT and say, what parts of this come directly from articles, and it will look it up right away. You don't have to go away and look in books to find this, so you can find...
So it's like almost like a reverse image search, isn't it?
Yes, pretty much, yeah. And the thing is, like, there's a limited number of sort of engines that you can use. So if more than one person is just getting an AI to write an essay, it will be very similar to somebody else's essay that has used, because it'll just pick up all the same sources.
Of course, yeah, because there's only so many books you can reference or essays that are on a specific topic, right? So
exactly,
I never thought about that.
And you would probably have to spend so much time going through the generated essay and changing it that you'd be as well, you'd spend as much time doing that to try and make it unique that you'd be as well just actually writing the damn thing anyway, you know? So if you knew your stuff, of course. But I think a lot of sort of college people and university people are getting wise to these, and especially school teachers as well, because they're getting essays that are very, very similar. And kids are lazy because they'll submit an essay without really checking it, and there'll be all sorts of weird stuff in there because it can't do everything at the moment.
Yeah.
But But it is quite impressive because I put in one as well just to test out. I'm going on holiday in a couple of weeks, going to Naples for
Oh,
a week.
nice. Oh, lovely. That's going to be so good.
I certainly hope so, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. But I put in, give me a list of 10 things to do in Naples. I'm looking for cultural and historical locations and events. And it gave me like Pompeii, and there's the catacombs and all that, and a couple of museums and stuff. And within each one, it gives you links to where you can buy tickets for it and all as well. That's kind of scary. Yeah, but
well, useful. I would say that's slightly more useful. That doesn't scare me as much as, you know, I think just because everything I read just now, it's like if you work in any sort of like marketing adjacent or copywriting adjacent role, like you're you're going to have nothing to do in the next 5 years. So I'll take the tour guide stuff though.
Yeah, it makes it easier in terms of what you're searching for, because you don't have to. You're getting it all given to you in terms of searches and everything. So,
are you going to the place that pizza was invented?
Yes. Well, apparently you can go and you can make your own pizza.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Which is all right, actually, and you can, and obviously it has to be a traditional one. There's no pineapple anywhere near any of these, but
I think you might actually get banned from Italy if you do that.
yeah.
We were getting a taxi from Naples to Amalfi Coast last time. We were chatting to the taxi driver about Gomorrah. And we were like, oh, can we detour? Can we see they've ripped those flats down? That was kind of what I was looking forward to. But they've ripped them down.
No, it's more, my wife wants to do a Elena Ferrante tour.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So there's various tours. You can go in places on your own, but you can just book a tour as well, and they take you around these various places, and it's meant to be really nice. There was a TV program on the Richard E. Grant program where he tours various places, and he goes, it's all based on books that have been written about various places, and there was one on, it was sort of the Naples area, and he was in Naples because of My Brilliant Friend, and he went down the coast because it was the Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah, well, that's it, because the Circumvesuviana Railway, is that it? You can go up the coast that way,
Yeah. So it was really interesting because he was meeting lots of people that were talking about the books, and he was seeing all the different sites and things like that, and he was totally enthusiastic about the whole thing. He just loved everything to do with it.
I bet it was.
You can get it on iPlayer. It's all on iPlayer.
Let's take a wee look. Yeah. Good.
Because it goes all over the place. I think it was maybe about 4 or 5 different programs that he did, and it's really, really interesting, and just his enthusiasm sort of drives you along. He stayed in the room that Patricia Highsmith was in when she wrote The Talented Mr. Ripley, and she based it on the town that she was in and all that as well. So it's cracking. And there's one bit you see a photograph of her actually on the same bed that he's sitting on, and it hasn't changed. It's the same sort of style of bed.
It's so cool.
Great.
That would be amazing.
Really,
and it's all based on books. Then is that what he's
Yes, he uses books as the sort of the jump off point to talk about the various areas that they're set in, and he talks to experts from the local area for these things as well. So yeah, it's definitely worth it. It kind of hits both of.
Yeah, that sounds right up my street.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very nice indeed. So yeah,
I need to download that. I do love him. He has this adorable like Labrador energy. Like he is just very happy to be there, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think like we talked about, he was very good in Saltburn because he was just a sort of doddery old retired gentleman of leisure, you know.
getting his knight's costume.
Yes.
Do you know, the more I think about it, the more I think that might actually be one of the best lines in the film, because it just generates so many questions about it that are never answered. It's just the next time you see him, he's in the costume.
Yeah, because you get the sense that it's not the first time he's asked that question. He's definitely said before. Just by the look, so and
being told, no, darling, this isn't the occasion for the night costume.
It's good. So, okay, so that's us done. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and we shall speak to you at some point in the future, very soon future.
See you next time.
All right, bye.